Welcome to This Explorer. Today, we're diving straight into a visceral, immediate experience and that so many of you are going to find incredibly.
Picture this. You walk into a room and instantly, like magic, you just feel the hidden energy. Nobody's yelling, there's literally zero visible drama going on, but your brain, it's already finished scanning the whole room. It caught that avoided glance, the forced smile, a sentence that's practically buzzing with tension. Today, we are unpacking the deeply fascinating psychology of the overly aware. Now, people love to compliment this level of observation, right? They call it a superpower, a real gift. They think it's just so wonderful to be able to read a room perfectly. But let's be real for a second. The truth is, having a brain with absolutely no off switch, a brain that forces you to scan every single microexpression and every tiny pause in conversation, is exhausting. It takes all the raw data of your daily interactions, forces you to lug it all the way home, pick it apart, and replay it on an endless loop until your emotional energy is just gone, completely drained. So that brings us to a foundational question we really have to ask ourselves. Is this hyper-attuned observation actually a superpower? Or is it a psychological trap that's actively keeping you from just enjoying the present moment? To figure that out, we need to look at why some people become so intensely aware in the first place. And when we look at empirical psychology, it turns out this phenomenon actually splits into two entirely distinct biological realities. It comes down to a really stark biological contrast. On one side, you have folks who are just born with an ultra-fine nervous system. It's totally innate. But on the other side, we have people who developed this intense awareness not as a birthright, but as a survival shield. And that shield is usually forged right in the fires of a highly unstable childhood. Let's look at that first group. Science calls this inborn trait sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS. You've probably heard them called highly sensitive persons. From the very second these individuals enter the world, their nervous system is naturally wired to process absolutely everything more intensely. It's fascinating, really, because they aren't trying to see the world in extreme 4K high resolution. Their brain simply hands it to them that way. They automatically absorb sounds, lights, and emotions at a baseline volume that is just cranked way, way up. But for that second group, this awareness isn't a genetic birthright at all. It is an inheritance of survival. In neuroscience, this state is known as hypervigilance, and it usually takes root in a past environment that was wildly emotionally unpredictable, most commonly during childhood. Just imagine a child growing up in a house where the adults' moods change like the weather. One minute it's a beautifully sunny day, and the very next, without a single warning sign, you're in the middle of a Category 5 hurricane. A child in that environment simply cannot afford the luxury of living innocently. And that is exactly where the innocence is lost. The child effectively transforms into a walking radar station. They have to learn incredibly specific, hyper-attuned behaviors to predict emotional disasters before they even happen. We're talking about a kid who memorizes the exact crunch of car tires rolling into the driveway just to calculate if a parent is coming home sober or not. They're measuring the precise decibel of a kitchen cabinet shutting to gauge the ambient anger level in the room. They know with absolute pinpoint accuracy exactly when it's safe to smile and when they need to seamlessly disappear right into the wallpaper. Underneath all those behaviors, there's actually a brilliant biological adaptation taking place. Your amygdala, which is basically the brain's primary danger alarm, gets constantly activated. It's recording this repeating, urgent message. This environment is not safe. Keep scanning. And here's the wild part. Without anyone ever sitting them down and teaching them how to do this, their nervous system automatically starts building these complex networks of neurons strictly dedicated to predicting emotional threats. It's a highly, highly effective biological strategy for surviving a dangerous environment. But then, that child grows up, and adults dealing with hypervigilance often look back and just heavily blame themselves. They think, why do I always overthink everything? Why can't I just relax like a normal person? I must be broken. But listen to me, they aren't broken at all. They're carrying around this incredible intelligence that was shaped entirely by survival. It's just that over time, that survival vigilance transformed into a deep awareness that became completely indistinguishable from their identity. The shield literally fused into their skin. So what happens when this massive, fused awareness enters everyday adult life? Well, it creates this constant hidden equation running in the background of your mind. Think about it. For a typical person, a Slack message from the boss saying, "Come see me at 4 p.m. is just a standard meeting. But for the over-aware brain, That's an immediate trigger sensing an invisible coldness. They'll catch a tiny 3-second pause before a compliment and immediately start wondering, okay, what is the hidden motive here? Heck, even a simple cup of espresso speeding up their heart rate can make the brain scream that an apocalyptic panic attack is completely imminent. This exhausting constant analysis mode is heavily fueled by something called the default mode network, or DMN. Now, in most folks, the DMN happily kicks in when you're just daydreaming or kicking back resting. But in overly aware people, this network stays highly and stubbornly active all the time. Half of their brain is smiling, holding a coffee cup and chatting, while the other half is taking furious mental notes, comparing details, and literally running a hidden marathon. And honestly, this is exactly why you can feel totally exhausted even if you've literally just been sitting quietly at a desk all day. And it doesn't stop there. This depth of awareness also creates a profound relational burden. Because there's a massive difference between cognitive empathy, which is where you logically understand, oh, my coworker's having a bad day, and emotional empathy. If you have ever felt utterly, physically exhausted after a friend complains to you about their day, this is why. Your empathy doesn't stop at just understanding. It crosses a boundary where you actually absorb and live inside that other person's pain, treating it exactly as if it were your own. This incredible level of absorption is driven by your mirror neurons. When a hyper-aware person sees someone else expressing an emotion, these neurons just fire wildly. If the guy sitting next to you on the bus is tapping his foot with nervous energy, your own heart rate spikes. If a friend vents about a bad breakup, that heavy emotional pain might literally sit in your chest for 3 days. You involuntarily become a container for other people's emotional waste. It is exactly why people love being around you, but it's also why you end up so utterly drained. And here is where it gets physically fascinating. Those suppressed, absorbed emotions, they don't just magically vanish, they move straight into your physical body. This relies on interoception, which is your ability to sense your internal state, processed by a part of the brain called the insular cortex. When this system is overly sensitive, it takes perfectly normal physical sensations and drastically misinterprets them. Your brain detects the caffeine from that espresso, frantically flips through its survival data and shouts, "Danger!" kicking off this brutal, self-feeding anxiety loop absolutely fueled by cortisol. Ultimately, when the signals from your body and your emotions become this overwhelming, your awareness morphs. It stops being a handy tool of observation and turns into a desperate strategy for control. You start operating on this unspoken belief that if you can just predict every single possible negative variable, you won't be caught off guard by pain. But here's the catch. In trying to constantly stay one step ahead of the pain, you step completely outside the flow of your own life. You get trapped in analysis paralysis. Protection completely replaces presence. So, the vital question for anyone living this way is, how on earth can you stop carrying every complex equation of the world on your shoulders? Well, you can't just flip a switch and turn off this awareness. That would be like asking someone with perfect 20/20 vision to suddenly see the world as blurry. It just doesn't work. Instead, the solution really lies in how psychotherapy can help people adjust these deep-rooted patterns of thinking and, most importantly, learn to set firm emotional boundaries. If you struggle with this, I want to share 3 incredible principles to really anchor yourself. First up, learn not to personalize exhaustion. Not every deleted text or quiet room is a hidden message about you. Sometimes people are literally just tired. Second, if anxiety shows up, try practicing observing it without judgment. You can simply note, okay, my heart is beating fast. It's just a physical sensation, without rushing to fix or solve it. And third, realize that not every insight needs to be spoken. You might see someone's insecurity crystal clear, but you do not have to be their therapist. Clarity is only a gift when it comes with boundaries. By actively practicing this kind of letting go, something truly remarkable happens. Your awareness doesn't disappear, it matures. It shifts from this frantic strategy of control and fear into a really gentle curiosity. You stop analyzing whether a smile is fake, and you start just enjoying the afternoon. You essentially turn the harsh, sharp
Vision is one that bright enough to really understand and do it, but gentle enough to love itself too. And then this is what I also about.
Your depth is not a flaw. That radar station you built as a kid or that ultrafine filter you were born with is a profound wisdom. But it is a wisdom that is desperately waiting for your own compassion. So how are you going to use it today? Will you keep guarding against the ghosts of the future?